Okay, so the other things that you need to know when you go in for a thymectomy is the plan that your surgeon has to contact your neurologist. If your neurologist is in the same town, that's good and fine, but what if your neurologist is in another city that doesn't have hospital privileges where you're going to have your surgery? You need to make sure there's a conference with both of them before the surgery. That way you know that that neurologist is on track with the surgeon, and how you're going to get orders from your neurologist to the hospital you're staying when he doesn't have privileges. And that was my problem that I had. So I had to get a local neurologist here because it was very cumbersome, but no one was on board. The problem is after you have a thymectomy, some neurologists feel that you don't need Mestinon, that you just need the regular antibiotics. You need your prednisone, and if you're on CellCept, you need the immune suppression, but you don't need Mestinon. Well, that's a lie. You need Mestinon, and you're going to need it probably a little bit more so than before the surgery because of one, stress on the body. The antibodies are still going to be in your body. Your body's not going to be able to reuptake them or to deal with them more. You're going to need either more prednisone or more Mestinon. And in my case, it was both. Before I went in, I was on 120 milligrams every 2 to 3 hours, and it was getting more and more frequent, not working. When after, within a week, I had gone down to, let's say, 60 milligrams every 4 to 6 hours. Sometimes, like, I could sleep, through the night, but it's not that often. But, that's one thing you got to address with your neurologist, is to make sure that your surgeon and him are in communication, because when you are in distress or in crisis in the ICU, even though the intensivist is going to be with you, they confer with the neurologist. And if you don't have that available, that Mestinon, right afterwards, you're going to be in crisis and you will be intubated. You won't be able to get out of the ICU. And, I had to scurry around trying to get my Mestinon, and at that point I was ready to shoot myself up with it, But that's what happens when you feel like you're going to suffocate. So make sure you have that communication going on. And also bring your own Mestinon to the hospital. Do not rely that they're going to have it. Bring 2 bottles. Bring your prednisone too, because there's going to be a time that, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but if you are in the hospital and the nurse is taking an hour to get your Mestinon, well, you're not going to be breathing well. You're not going to be talking. That was my case this past time. They got better, because I was, taking it every 2 hours. It's another thing I was wanting to talk to you about. When you go in the hospital, you have to have antibiotics, which is the case for me I had the osteomyelitis. There's certain antibiotics, and if your neurologist hasn't given this list to you, you need to have it. You can go online and look it up. It's medications that interact or exacerbate, make myasthenia more symptomatic. You need to look those up and find out what you're going to be taking. And stupid me forgot all about this list and didn't know that vancomycin is also one of those drugs that causes myasthenia to be exacerbated. And I was wondering why I was taking 60 milligrams, which I'd finally gotten down to 60 instead of 120, and was doing well. Then all of a sudden it was wasn't enough, and I'm losing my breath, and I was also losing my voice astronomically fast. And then it was getting to every hour and a half I was taking Mestinon, and then I said, well, I'm going to take 90, and that worked. But then I had to take it, instead of taking it every 4 hours, I was taking it every 3. And then I called my neurologist, once I got home, and found out that that's one of those drugs, and so is doxycycline and something else, I have the list somewhere here. There's quinolones, there's also other antibiotics, there's also the cardiac drugs that also cause an exacerbation. So before you go into the hospital, make sure you know what the plan is, and if you're going to be on antibiotics, that you educate your nurses also. Take that list with you, because I'm a nurse, and we don't see that many myasthenics, and I work in pediatrics, but I've seen maybe 1 or 2 in my life. But there's a lot of nurses out there, and even adult land, that never see myasthenic patients, and you've got to educate them. And the best thing to do would be to actually get a list of symptoms, print out a form that has at least information on what it is, like the, changes in the neuromuscular junction, the different types of myasthenia. There's the Lambert-Eaton, there's genetic, which is, it could be an enzymatic metabolic process. There's the autoimmune. There's also familial myasthenia that I have. My dad has it. My grandfather had it. My sister, we don't know. But you never know who's going to have it. You don't. There's so many different types of myasthenia. And also, those of you who are out there that have seronegative myasthenia, like I have, there are actually 100 or plus other antibodies that you could be positive for that they have found that cause myasthenia gravis. And just because you're negative to the 4 that they actually effectively test for doesn't mean you're seronegative. It just means you're just not positive to those. You could be positive to others. So don't let ignorant neurologists not treat you right. You can educate them too. There are other ways to educate them. Go to another neurologist and let them talk and say, you know, I found this neurologist who actually has found that this could be genetic, or this could be congenital. I could have had it at a younger age and it's just exacerbated as you get older. So make sure you bring information with you to the hospital that's going to teach nurses or parents. You know, if you have children, the same thing. Teach the nurses, because we're our own advocate, and if we don't advocate for ourselves, then we are going to die. Bottom line, you're going to die if you don't make sure you educate people on what we have, or what you have, or what I have. You know, I'm a nurse, and I know how when parents educate me on what their children have, some things are very rare, and I'm grateful for the stuff. I don't have to pull it up on the internet and look at it myself. I make copies, make sure I put it in the chart, make sure I put it in our clipboards, Cardex. I make sure that information's out there. I give some to the charge nurse and have them put it in their information sheet too, to where it can be passed on, and that information is very vital. So any information is good information, and make sure you take copies of that with you, especially the sheet of medications that can exacerbate myasthenia, and information on myasthenia, the different types. And if you have like a Lambert-Eaton, do you have small lung cell carcinoma, whatever it is that you have with it, it can also exacerbate it. Having said that, make sure that while you're there, you also, if you have long hair, make sure you braid it before you go into surgery with ties that don't have metal on it, because you will come out with dreads, and that is nasty to get out. The only way is with heavy amounts of conditioner and probably WD-40. Comb it. So make sure you have your hair up, especially if it's long like mine. I had mine braided the whole time I was in the ICU because it was just more manageable, and I didn't have to wash it because I couldn't. And with the incisions, you want to keep it clean and out of the incision. So make sure you have that. Also make sure that you bring chapstick, because your lips, you're going to be so dry. Make sure you tell people that are helping you and taking care of you while you're there to put it on you, because your lips crack, and that's one thing that always makes you feel good, especially the first time you drink. If you don't have any coverage on that, they crack and bleed, and then that's like one more thing that you have to worry about. Instead of this crack, you worry about that crack. And then the other crack, bring underwear, lots of them. Socks too, bring lots of socks, because you're not going to want to put shoes on, slide shoes on. Just bring flip-flops or some kind of slide-on shoe. Okay, I'm going to do another video, because there's so much more I want to tell you guys that from my experience I think you really need to know. So it's coming up to 10 minutes, so you're going to have like a lot of stuff here.